Henderson's in the house.
By two. Yeah, that's here too.
You do exist, Bill.
No, it's not.
Huh? I'm not that old. I wished I was.
Retired.
Retired, yeah, retired. Not old, thank you. Where's my friend Will? He's down.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
He was the homeless guy outside, so.
Yeah.
He was blending in with them, so a little hard to tell.
Really.
Well, Henderson is loading their PowerPoint. Before I officially call the meeting to order, and before the minutes start, I'd like to make a statement that I forgot the donuts I promised as the new chair.
Oh, likely story.
Should we wait? I'm leaving.
Yeah. We can extend it.
If I could,
We'll wait for you. Go ahead.
well, we haven't started, but I did hear a motion to extend my donut until next month.
Yeah, that means double the donut.
Uh-oh.
He's doubling it until you deliver it.
Well, that means it's donuts next time and donuts the next month. Dunkin' Donuts. Usually.
We're on notice.
Oh,
Thank
you want me to stop? Meeting right here. Oh.
Okay.
Love it.
1 second.
I forget if I asked this question before or after we come to order, but are you ready?
Okay.
Yes.
That actually wasn't my question. My question is, do we have a quorum, RTC?
See, we do have a quorum, sir, and 1 second, and we will be ready on the
Okay.
first question, and we do have a quorum, and thank you for asking.
Like a super quorum today.
Yeah, what a...
Is everybody
nice-
here?
What a nice...
I think
The donut promise,
I think everybody is.
of which we will not
Keep
further
promising
speak.
donuts, Mark. Apparently, delivery doesn't matter. Just make the promise. That only lasts so long, though.
And Mr. Chair and Mr. Facilitator, whenever you're ready.
Okay. I'd like to call to order the August 16th, 2017 meeting of the RTC Regional Project Coordination Committee. It is 9:02. Our first item is to conduct a comment period, the first of 2 comment periods, for citizen participation. No action can be taken on any matter discussed under this item, although the committee can direct that it be placed on a future agenda. With that said, do we have any citizen comments, questions to this page? Hearing none, we will move on to approval of the minutes. Before a motion to approve them, are there any comments, additions, changes? Hearing none, I will make the motion for approval of the minutes. All in favor, aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Minutes are approved. Item 3, receive an updated list of entity and utility company contact persons and direct staff accordingly for possible action. Do you have any changes?
Well, I do want to point out our new member, Mr. Chris Dingle with the Clark County School District is here. So we appreciate your involvement, participation. Again, just indicative of our expanded scope, expanded role, our first steps into the world of private development. Although the school district might not be a private developer in the technical sense, they certainly are a private developer in the practical sense. So we very much appreciate the school district being here. Thank you.
Welcome aboard. Okay, we're already up to presentations. Receive presentations, and I believe we have two.
Correct.
And the water rec one is loaded first. Okay? Receive presentation from member entity and utility on upcoming projects, new technologies, and other topics of interest for possible action. And with that, we'll roll with the
Take it away, Tim.
presentation.
All right, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so rather than cover our entire capital program like we have in prior years here, I'd like to highlight a couple of projects that are currently in design in the Southwest, and then also kind of explain the investments we've been making in the collection system, look at the history, the benefits of what we're doing now, and kind of give you an explanation of how we got to building these large, high-profile projects. I'm not sure how much capacity talk people can fit in one sitting, so I'll try to keep it moving.
We love capacity, Tim. Go for it.
You're going to love this then. All right, so this is a map of probably the southern two-thirds of our system. If you see the green pipelines in the upper part of the map, that is the Crosstown Interceptor, which was built in the late 90s primarily, and carries flow all the way from the far southwest and as far west as Summerlin, across the strip, picking up UNLV, and then going eastbound to our Flamingo Water Resource Center for treatment. That line is approaching its useful capacity, and in order to accommodate the Southwest Basin and all the growth that we have seen and will continue to see in that area, moving the clock forward 15 years, the TAN pipeline that you see starting around the Silverton and then running north and east to Samstown is the Paradise Whitney Interceptor, or the PWI. That line is a gravity line, 54-inch to 72-inch, that has pretty much 4 goals that it was trying to achieve, and I want to talk about those, which lead into what we're doing in the Southwest currently and coming up in the next couple of years. First goal of the PWI was to relieve a lot of capacity constraints and odor issues in the southeast area, everything essentially east of I-15 and south of 215, which had a lot of odor issues, pipes running above their design capacity, difficulty in serving infill development due to the local network being congested. All of those goals in the southeast have now been met with live flow throughout most of the PWI. So the benefit as of today is primarily in the southeast area. So moving on to the southwest area, the next goal of PWI is because the Crosstown from the late 90s has experienced a lot more flow from the southwest than it was originally anticipated for. The PWI is going to divert much of the flow from the southwest area out of Crosstown and eastward along the new alignment, which will enable the Crosstown to accept new flows from projects in and around the strip using the existing network. So PWI, in this sense, is a true relief sewer, and it makes the existing legacy pipelines much more development friendly by taking a good portion of the flow out of it. And then the third goal of PWI is to serve as a backbone for everything else that happens in the Southwest, which we anticipate being the lion's share of development over the next 10 or 20 years. So on this large-scale map, if you see the blue line running along Windmill, that's Project 725, Southwest Interceptor. And then the red project that you see just west of I-15 along Pyle and Valley View is the Project 737, which is our Pyle and Valley View interceptor. All right, so now we're at Project 725, which is in design. This is, again, is a all-gravity sewer that picks up the existing flows in Windmill, which is a 21-inch, and in Rainbow, which is a 36-inch. Takes it east on Windmill to Arville, comes in on Arville and crosses Blue Diamond, and then goes east on Wigwam, connecting to the PWI just west of the Silverton. The goals of 725, if I can find it in my notes. This is the project that really takes the flow out of the crosstown by intercepting everything that's flowing north along this section. And we've already done quite a bit of that diversion with projects over the last couple of years. This project really fulfills all of that planning by drying out the southern branch of the crosstown. And then the second goal is just to provide branch sewer capacity throughout the kind of middle part of the Southwest. And this is going to make it much easier for developers to reach all the capacity that they need for really infill build out of the area. We've been planning it. Yes, sir.
Oh, I was just curious, what, the color is the size of the line you're installing?
Correct.
And you're reducing the size down there at the bottom? You're going from a 42 to a 36?
Right. We sometimes when we are looking at this, which is not always our preference, we refer to this as district math whenever you reduce a pipe size. In this case, though, the red section there on Wigwam is at a 1.5% slope, which is a lot of slope for 36. And our modeling team has looked in detail at the capacity of that stretch. And every conceivable build-out scenario, including the developments in the Blue Diamond area, and it is sized to accept those flows at build-out. The larger pipe sizes, which you see generally are running on the north-south runs, are a larger diameter because they're a much lesser slope. So the actual hydraulic capacity throughout this project is mostly the same, even though the pipe sizes are fluctuating.
Right.
What, Tim, is the design year typically for a big system like this?
As far as build-out?
Yeah. Well, no. I mean, what are the design capacity? You said this. How far out in the future do you look for this thing to last, as far as just from a capacity perspective?
That's a good question. Our current build-out horizon is 2058.
Okay.
We look at...
So the modeling is based on full build-out, full infill development, then you put that in your model, and you say that's a 2058 model. I'm just thinking of trying to put it in terms of transportation. You know, we have our 2040 model, and we make decisions based on that.
Well, that's exactly correct. And then, of course, with water pipes, you have the water age problem for early phase development. For sewer lines, The real limitation in your early stages where you don't have that build-out flow and you only have early phase flow is scouring, making sure there's enough velocity to move the solids along the bottom of the pipeline. So that's where it becomes a balancing act of building the pipe big enough and steep enough to handle build-out flows, but still scour from day one when you only have a tenth of that flow in it. And
Interesting.
we go through a lot of iterations to achieve that balance.
Cool, thank you.
All right, so this is project 737, the Pile and Valley View interceptor. The green pipe you see at the top of your map is the terminal point of the PWI. So we grabbed that stub out, which I think is 54-inch diameter at that point, run it down to Cactus and Valley View, where there is a large line that comes out of Southern Highlands, which we divert northbound. The 10-inch in Cactus, we're going to bridge over that connection and let it continue flowing eastbound in order to have a base flow in that line. And we'll talk about that direction in a minute. All right, so this project has 4 main goals, which is to provide trunk line capacity for all the areas surrounding Pile and essentially east of the UPRR, to relieve the existing line in Cactus, which is not really built to accommodate surrounding development. And so you can see that we're relieving Cactus at Valley View, also at Edmond, which is the this is a 15-inch relief sewer in Edmond from Cactus up to Pile. And then it terminates for phase 1 now at Jones. I'm going to go back to my previous slide. A third goal for this project is, as everyone's aware, there is a public works project on Las Vegas Boulevard South, which the district has oversized to serve the South Strip corridor. Which is that finished now, Robert, or is it approaching completion? It's well along. So by diverting all the flow from that Cactus line northbound to the PWI, it frees up this 30-inch in Cactus to carry the flows from the South Strip without having to build a lot of new infrastructure in that area. So again, wise use of relief sewers creates capacity in our existing network, which is very developer friendly, without having to build a lot of new projects in that area. And then fourthly, going back to our project map, you can see the dotted line going west from Jones. One of our large lift stations is our Mountains Edge facility, which is currently in very good condition and has a number of years of good operation ahead of it. However, when that facility is approaching the end of its useful life and needs a rehabilitation, we will build a new gravity line which doesn't really follow this dotted line. It'll come up Jones and across the power easement north of the detention basin, and then relieve that lift station by gravity and decommission it, which I think we're planning to do that around the 2033 horizon. All right, so both of these projects are in design, with construction scheduled to begin in 2019. And then I'd just like to show you a few slides from other projects to give you a sense of the scale of what this footprint looks like for traffic control, community impact. We, from the very first conceptual design, when we're looking at where we need capacity and what the possible alignments are, our community relations folks, our construction managers, we drive these alignments thinking about what is this going to look like when we're constructing it? What are the impacts going to be on the businesses and the residences, the schools, hospitals? And it has a tremendous, it's a weighted factor in the way that we do these designs. Part of the difficulty in areas where you want to stay off of the service and do trenchless pipe installation, in this case using a tunneling machine, is even though you don't have a lot of disruption above ground, the actual launching pit and receiving pit are enormous. And you can picture how many lanes that this excavation is going to take up and the duration of how long it's there. So when we look at tunneling, it's really a balancing act between the impact of the tunneling operation compared to the relatively faster open cut, where yes, you have an impact above ground, but you can be there and gone within a few weeks, as opposed to these tunneling operations, which take quite a lot of time. This is another launching pit. A lot of these large interceptor sewers are quite deep due to the lay of the land and trying to make them deep enough so that you can gather flow from a wide area by gravity without using any lift stations. This is, I think, okay, this is just a pipe, open cut pipe operation, but you can still see it takes up quite a bit of space, even though they are saw cutting a lane in order to do the excavation. All right, that's all I had prepared. Is there any other questions and comments?
Any idea how deep that last picture was? We're trying to do a guess from that 6 foot tall worker and put him up. Was he 20 feet down, 30 feet down?
I'm not sure exactly where this is, but I'd call it at least 20. That's looks like a 48 inch pipe that is, maybe a 54.
What would be duration then you'd be in the roadway? I mean, obviously, the excavation alone and the shoring, you're out there for a substantial period of time. Would you open something up like this? You're obviously going to be there for a while.
Well, surprisingly, the open cut goes faster than you would expect. And even in areas of this depth and size, they sometimes make 100 or 200 feet a day if conditions are favorable and they don't have to cut through a lot of glaciing. So it really, it's very job specific. The tunneling, on the other hand, takes much longer, and so those large excavation footprints for the launching and receiving pits have traffic control set up for months typically. Thank you. All right, thank you.
Well, I did have one thing, Tim, sorry.
Mhm.
Can you just, the coordination, I mean, can you maybe go through some of the discussions that have been had with the other utilities as far as possibilities of getting their infrastructure into your project, either, yeah, it's a good idea, or no, we physically can't do it? Because one of the issues that came up on the Paradise Whitney Interceptor was once you guys had it buttoned up, Southwest Gas went in. And that was necessary just because of the physical locations of the line. There was really no physical way that you could have done Southwest Gas work with your project. But again, it's the perception issue that we're trying to battle, and when you come up with a situation like that, we want to be able to explain why SWG went in after you on Sunset. So can you just go in a little bit to your, the Water Recs process for vetting those situations out?
Sure, and I want to be selective in how I answer this question.
You can be as selective
some
as you
of
like.
that happens at a level of our director and our general manager and his lieutenants that I don't want to get into. But we do, at the beginning of pre-design, our consultant meets with all of the affected utilities to do coordination. As far as combining projects, we've had a lot of successes with Public Works in combining their paving projects that are planned with our capacity and rehabilitation projects. And I think over the last 6 or 7 years, we've combined a number of projects successfully. Both Public Works constructing our sewer facilities and us performing full street paving and other right-of-way improvements as part of our sewer projects, and then with the funds adjusted by interlocal agreement.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is City of Henderson, upcoming projects.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's a pleasure to be here today. What we looked at, wow, let me try one more. I'll say the person who put this together is very, very fancy. They use PowerPoint much better than I do. We looked at what we have coming up in terms of design for year one, mainly in the prior projects, and I won't bore you guys reading these because I know they're on the screen, what you have them in front of you, and I'll go a little more into detail of the individual list. So we'll get right to the map. The first project we have on here is Basic Road, and this one should be a great interest to all the great utility companies. This is a true complete streets project on Basic Road. It's right by our City Hall complex in Henderson. So that is our City Hall complex. Basic Road is on the south side of us, and we're going from Pacific Avenue over to Boulder Highway. Basic Road right now, as it currently stands, is one lane in both directions, which also allow on-street parking. Engineering perspective, Basic Road is, unfortunately, it's not built on the center of the roadway alignment. We're offset. What we're doing is we're coming in and we are moving the curb line. And we're pulling the curb line in mainly on the, call it the southerly side, which is this side. This curb line is going to move towards the center of the road approximately 7 feet.
Wow.
It allows us an opportunity to put in a wide and detached sidewalk, but I'm looking at many of the members in the room, and that's code for where a lot of your facilities right now is going to change underground relative to where the curb line is. We are negotiating with the consultant right now to go into the pre-design aspect of it. We are on an accelerated schedule because we have a separate project that, thank you for many people in the room, we've been working very closely with us on it, and it's under construction. This is our downtown area, our downtown core. We're almost complete with either replacing or rehabilitating the water and sewer lines down there. Then over top of that now, we're also moving curb lines, putting in widened sidewalks, working for an enhanced pedestrian zone as we rehabilitate the roadway. We've been down here, and by the time we leave down here, we have been here for a year. And that's anticipated to be done in March. We've been working very closely with the businesses. We actually, our contractor meets with them bi-weekly, and it's caused them several concerns with them, with their impacts to their businesses. But when this completes in March, we immediately go into construction on Water Street, where we are repaving the roadway. That design is almost complete. That also has substantial water and sewer work. And then as soon as that construction is done, we want to roll into this construction. We understand that this entire neighborhood, right now, we are impacting this for at least the next 3 years. And so that's why we ask definitely of the utility companies in the room, double check what you have in here. We've already sent over preliminary concepts through your new development side of the house that they are aware of. And we're doing everything we can to try to work out the details now because we know the impact to the businesses. The next project,
Scott, when are you looking to do this? What time frame?
January.
January? Okay, so, 2019?
2018. When I say that, one of the main factors driving this work right now is actually utility work. This is one of a more mature area in Henderson, which is code 4 is old. Most of our underground utilities are approaching 70 years. Our water
I'm sitting right here, Scott.
You're a spring chicken compared to mature, John. Come on, I'm right there with you. I'm very excited. I turned 50 here very soon, and I'm hoping that gets me like, I don't know, a free donut at Dunkin' Donuts or something once a month.
It does.
Does it?
Yeah.
I'll have to catch up with you and get a list of all the things that I get
Yeah. The list is extensive.
with that major milestone in my life.
We could have had them today, but
That's because Mark isn't 50 yet.
Spend money for one.
Bring your ID, Scott.
Bring your ID.
love you, Mark.
Yeah, just don't give them away. You got to prove it.
So yeah, aside from all this, our utilities company has a master plan for this entire area. So as I mentioned, it's 70 years old. We have water lines which are 8-inch cast iron, which are down to an effective diameter of 3 inches.
Wow.
They're cool pictures to look at, but if you live in the home and you turn on your sprinklers in the shower at the same time, you better get in the shower before you turn on the sprinklers. You might not quite have enough water pressure. Anyway, yes, Sean, so...
Can I ask you another question?
Sure, you bet.
Is it federally funded?
No, it is not.
Thank you. So good.
It is all local funds.
Good.
That project then rolls us right into our Eastern Avenue improvements. And this one is a little further out on the horizon. We are getting ready to select a consultant. Horizon Ridge, so we're going all the way from, you can see the 215 to the north. So south of the Beltway, all the way up to Horizon Ridge. Our first phase of this is a corridor operational analysis. As many of you are very familiar, this is one of the main exits out of Anthem. There are substantial residents in this area. We have gone very steady over the years. We're always working with operational issues in terms of capacity. And one of the things that impacts our capacity is obviously Eastern Avenue, which is a residential, a local arterial crossing St. Rose Parkway, which is a high-speed state route. So one of the things that we will be asking consultants to analyze for us is alternatives to that intersection. And of course, one thing that comes to mind is there a potential for grade separation? It's supposed to separate those two facilities, and so you have problems with people going 45 on Eastern Avenue versus 55 posted, 55 actual in Central Parkway. And when you hit a red light, you stack up a lot of cars and they're coming at you at 55 miles an hour. So as I mentioned, we are selecting the consultant. We'll go through the preliminary design process, come up with some alternatives. That will take us through probably the remainder of 17 and a good portion of 18. And ideally then, late in 18 or even 19 then, we would be looking to finalize construction documents and move into construction of whatever selected alternatives are.
When 19, you said?
Hopefully.
Just round numbers?
Yes.
Yeah.
Roman Hills Drive, if you're familiar with this one, it comes off of this is Horizon Ridge Parkway right here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just to back up on Eastern, just because that is such a,
Exciting one for you?
exciting one. Yeah, absolutely. The so beyond the study, I mean, are there? I mean, that's corridor's been studied to death over the decade. I mean, are you looking for capacity? Are you looking for bikes? Are you looking for, moving curbs in or out? I mean, what's the scope of?
There was a UPWP.
What's the term or the long-term vision for Eastern in Henderson's eyes?
Part of the UPWP stands for Unified Planning Work Process. It's something we do as with the RTC. It's federal money that you can do planning level studies. We did an Eastern Avenue corridor safety analysis. That looked at small level things of where can we do bus stops?
Hmm.
You get the buses out of the roadway. Where are we missing sidewalk connections? Where are we missing connections between the trail system to enhance the mobility? This, what we're looking at right now, in terms of these alternatives, is purely due to the throughput capacity of the vehicle. We see a great need that we have several congested choke points, and maybe not necessarily because of geometric reasons, but more because of the volume of traffic, how they interact with each other, and definitely, as I mentioned there, right at St. Rose and Eastern Avenue, that is a congestion choke point for us of what occurs. And so we are looking at a combination of all that, JP, in terms of what we do mainly for the vehicles, better accommodating transit, but not looking at call it a road guide per se, of bringing in curb line.
Okay.
It's maintaining this as a transportation corridor and maybe for
So congestion mitigation, just in broad terms. Thank you.
Roman Hills Drive, we're talking about there, coming in off of Horizon Ridge Parkway. So this is Valle Verde, and this is the entrance into Sun City Mac Ranch, right off the screen here to be Green Valley Parkway. This roadway starts out public and right at the end of our pretty tiger tail there, and it goes private. This is the entrance into the Skya development, which is on some of the lower ridge lines of the city of Henderson. Interesting enough, this roadway, it starts out as a rehabilitation project because of the deteriorating pavement. But this is one of those situations where we have an 80-foot roadway in terms of pavement, and you really don't need anything more than typical residential streets. And so it will become a complete streets project. One of the concepts right now is preliminary is we have a nice landscape buffer on this side. It's curb gutter, landscaping, detached sidewalk. But then on the other side, it's curb gutter, sidewalk, loft walls, or back of houses. So it's anticipated that on the westerly side, that curb line will move over into the roadway, create a detached sidewalk with a landscape buffer, and then we would be rehabilitating all the pavement. So once again, depending upon where the dry utilities are located, in theory, you still remain under a sidewalk if your intent to keep the sidewalk. Just create a landscape buffer by narrowing the road and moving the curb line. We are also looking at alternatives, how to modify this intersection. It's currently a T intersection. It is non-signalized. We are getting quite a few signals along Horizon Ridge Parkway. As the Skya development comes more online, if you're not familiar with it, it's rather high-end lot with incredible views of the strip in the city. It's anticipated to be quite an upscale development, and they have approached the developer saying we have concerns of access. Is there a better way for us to get out than at the intersection of stop sign? So we are interested in looking at unique alternatives other than just let's pop in another traffic light. Getting on Stephanie Street South, so once again, we're right by the 215 Beltway. RC Willys is right off the screen here for north of the area. Going to the south, we need to rehabilitate the roadway. The open grade is rattling off, it's very rough ride. We would go then all the way to the south, which is the entrance way into the Dragon Ridge Golf Course. Along here, too, we have identified, we have numerous ADA concerns, push buttons up the signal, sidewalk panel TV, so there'll be a combination of road and sidewalk, but we have no intent at this time to change roadway width.
What's the schedule on that one?
All of these that I just touched on, Stephanie Street, Roman Hills, and Eastern Avenue, now, we are putting an RFP out, request for proposal for consultants, and our intent is to, and by the way, Stephanie can still, in case nobody else knows that yet. Look. Stephanie Street, Roman Hills, and one coming up here at the Anthem area will go out under one RFP. We anticipate having a consultant on board within the next 90 days. 3 different consultants, one for each job, and go through the design process and be under construction as soon as possible. So most of these will be under construction in 2018.
Now, those are Roma Hills, Stephanie, for sure, are Fry too, right?
Correct. Anthem's being paid for just out of it.
Okay.
Eastern Avenue is also pricey.
Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't realize, thanks.
And are any of these federal funds?
Just to revolve.
Great.
John, let me help you out here. All projects that are discussed today, none of them are federal funded, they're all local funded. Do that just for you.
You are on. No, actually, it's to help you. Really?
Don't forget that corner transmission pole you have in Roma Hills that's in under franchise, we need that one.
No worries.
We'll hold our breath with you.
You get the spare one in the yard, right? Sorry.
course.
Sidebar joke. Sean and I have been on this journey way too long. We know each other too well. Via Novilla is also coming out of the Fry aspect. Via Novilla, we are in southwest Henderson. So this is actually Las Vegas Boulevard, but south of St. Louis Parkway. So the M Resort is just off the street here. Via Novilla is a new east to west roadway coming off of Executive Airport Drive. Looks like it's a little further over. We're doing things right now. We have multiple developers in the area we've been working with, mainly from the industrial standpoint. And because of the scope of their operation, they need more connections to get out through the I-15. So we're working very hard on Via Villa. We are finalizing the alignment of how it comes in and intersects with Las Vegas Boulevard. And right now, the main aspect of this phase of the project is right-of-way acquisition, and of course with that goes the setting the lines.
Also Fry too, you said?
Yes, sir.
Thanks.
Van Wagenen Street. This is actually a leftover from Fry 1. It's part of our downtown project. We're working very closely with the developer. This one gets exciting once again. It impacts a lot of folks in the room. This current roadway, if you're not familiar with the area, once again, this is City Hall for Henderson. This is Lake Mead Parkway. And coming over this way, we hit Greenway Road. We will go all the way from Lake Mead to Greenway. Currently operates as a 5-lane facility, 2 lanes in both directions with a center turn lane. Once again, we have made substantially more pavement and roadway capacity than is needed for as it is utilized. So we're working with an adjacent developer who wants to develop a strip of land next to this. And there's beautiful power lines on this one, but Sean, you don't own them. They're actually the Western Area Power Administration, they're WASA. Been working very closely with them. They would like to relocate those power lines, put them into a median item in the roadway. So while we will do the roadway, we're going to narrow. This is one where both curb lines are moving. Both curb lines will come in probably anywhere between 8 and 10 feet. We will, one of the alternatives right now is to modify the roadway section, go away from a 5-lane section, go to a 2-lane section, one in each direction, widen sidewalks, widen enhance bicycle facilities, bike lanes, really make it pedestrian friendly since we are so close to our downtown core and connection to a adjacent trail system such as our new Fifth Railroad Trail, which runs through here. This roadway, in essence, the pavement is so deteriorated. This is a start from scratch. Everything comes out, it'll be a complete remove and replace. With the curbs coming in and creating a widened area for the pedestrians and cyclists. In the partnership, sorry,
Did you say you're gonna move the power line to the middle of that section?
we are working with Landwell. Yes, power lines are looking at coming out of that strip. The developer's been working very closely with WAPA, working on details and approvals. This is actually a project that the developer has been pursuing, I believe it's after it's taken 15 years. And it's finally turned the corner, there's timing, there's partnerships.
And that's Landwell?
Yes.
Okay.
There's partnerships with the city that we will allow those power poles to be relocated to within a future meeting island location. Great win-win situation for the community. What's been having the project on hold currently is the developer working out the details with the preliminary power administration. They've met with them several times. It looks like they are coming very close to an understanding. We anticipate this one going to design hopefully by the end of this year, if not the first of next year, and be under construction probably within a year.
So what does that add up to, 19 again? Mid-19?
Mid-19 or late 18.
Okay.
This is also an exciting one. We're, strangely enough, we're working with Landwall on this one. They tend, as a developer, they have a lot of land in the downtown area. If you're familiar with the Cadence development and the thousands of acres that's developing, you can see the new homes they've already brought online. Water Street is what is shown here. So this is Water Street going back to City Hall this direction. They, being the developer in partnership with us, we are extending Water Street across Boulder Highway and it's coming to the development. This is their first phase, the commercial piece that they are building. And so in a partnership with them, we're working jointly on this. We're working on the identification of the right-of-way and what have you. And I'm assuming that most of the utilities in the room have been working with landlord closing Cadence development, and this one's not a surprise for you, but it's anticipated as well that this project will be in construction in 2018 at the new roadway.
Get your cones ready. A lot of stuff coming.
Now we go walk through the other direction I touched bases on a little earlier. If you remember with City Hall here, this is our current construction and our joke about the 8-inch cast iron water line. We now have a 3-inch effective diameter. Our utility department is redoing the water and sewer along the entire corridor. They have millions of dollars worth of infrastructure they're putting in. They're having to do a pressure zone conversion. A lot to do with upgrading what we have downtown so it's more attractive for redevelopment. And with that is we have the opportunity now to rehabilitate the roadway. The statement has been expressed. We are not touching the curb line. This is purely put back in the current width that exists and using the opportunity to partner and make sure our utilities are taken care of at the same time. And with that, that's everything we have going on, basically 2017, 2018, that is non-federal.
Thanks a lot, Scott. Appreciate that. I think it's really illustrative how you've got a mix of projects. So you've got congestion mitigation, you've got safety, you've got complete streets. It's very context sensitive. Recognizing there's no one solution. So I think both of these presentations today, I just speaking for myself, but I think they're exactly what we are looking for as far as level of detail, length. So thank you both.
One thing we did not bring is obviously our pavement preservation, slurry seals, type 1, type 2 slurries, occasionally PMEs that we do in our residential neighborhoods. That is also funded through SPRI 2. We have a list that keeps on growing and shrinking based upon the amount of money we think we'll have for the year. I believe potentially some of the utility companies have seen a copy of that list. Annually, local governments go out and we redo residential streets, slurry counts. And our intent is to provide that list to all the utility companies a year in advance of when we go out, so then you will have opportunity to look at what you have going on in your maintenance programs and see whether or not there are residential neighborhoods that you need to be in that we will also be in at the same time, so we can try to coordinate that schedule better.
Scott, you did mine last week, and it's beautiful.
Great news.
Nice work.
Did you notice I was out there with the broom afterwards? just for you.
Got pictures.
Any other questions?
I'd like to just really echo exactly what JT said for both presentations, and I'd just like to note that the city's last presentation was kind of a high-level thing on the updates to the regional project coordination map as well as the utility conference we held, but I think you both just raised the bar for the kind of
what's coming up next, where the cones are coming up next, kind of a presentation.
So for the record, can we note, if you get here at 8:58, still on time?
Just-in-time delivery, Scott. It's the most efficient way of doing things, although it does add a lot of stress.
We
For staff.
definitely apologize to the folks that we stressed out.
Stress level went up, but you delivered like always.
So for full disclosure, we'll let everybody know that aside from all the incredible emails reminding us about upcoming presentations, when JP sent the urgent phone message followed up with the email that I read of, I need your presentation today, we went, I wonder what he's talking about. And we read the email and we went, oh yeah, that one.
Anyway, thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay, the next agenda item number 5 is discuss potential projects on the 1 to 2 year planning list for possible action. Does anyone have any projects in that window that they'd like to talk about?
I'd like to talk about a project in particular.
Okay.
And this,
JP's calling up the map, just so everybody knows. Go ahead.
and I know this project's been brought up in the zone management meeting, and I'm gonna bring it up here just so that all the other utilities or agencies are aware of what happens sometimes. We have a project, and it's 4,400 feet of pipeline, and it's on Vegas Valley from Pyramid to Tonopah. It's on there. We on May 2nd we awarded it. It's been coordinated with. We've had it on here. We coordinated with everybody else. Nobody was in the alignment. In late July, our contractor goes to City Las Vegas, and they're denied the traffic control because there is a project half a mile south on Washington that's in construction. So we cannot proceed because there's something half a mile away. So I guess that it comes to how do we know, or how do we prepare for these things? When we have something that's already been bid and it's like, okay, well, we can't construct because half a mile away there's a project in construction.
That
Okay.
is a fantastic question.
I mean, it's just to bring it up to the rest of the utilities that does happen, and so we ask ourselves, do we plan? How do we do this so it doesn't happen again? What do we need to do to coordinate better?
Well, I honestly, go ahead, Chris.
So I'd like to speak on it. I think this location is very unique, just with having Project Neon. One of the main criteria that the city of Las Vegas was dealing with as well was with the storm drain project that's going on between MLK and Rancho. And I know that prior to the big squeeze, and with the volumes of traffic going through and with the detour route, the city was told to hold off on that project prior to the 95 or I-15 north to go 95 north. So they were held off because Neon was the priority. And then as you guys are going through all your approvals and
Right.
there's nothing brought up. Lake Mead was a detour route, but the designated detour route. But we know that once they get off the freeway, they're gonna decide where they want to go and how. So by the time that the switch was done with Project Neon, the city finally was able to get out into the road. Now it's time you guys get your going through your permitting process. So.
We had our permits. That's the thing. It's like, when do we? The people that are saying don't do it should say it way before they issue the permit and the go ahead. So that way we don't award a contract and then have to.
Adrian, I have a concept for you. It's sort of at an easier level because for us as a city, everything's internal, and understanding you are sort of separate outside. As we are developing our CIP projects from a public works standing, we all know that any local government, there's two main arms there's the capital improvement side, and then for us, there's also the developer side. And there's different times when we touch each other, and sometimes the developer side can get in the middle of one of our projects, and it causes concern if we didn't coordinate very well. But what we do, prior to advertising, as we're still preparing the spec package, we touch bases with our traffic department. Specifically our barricade inspectors, our individual, and we say, hey, this is our project that we have coming up. This is our anticipated duration. Are you aware of any other work that's coming in the area? And also, as we're in the specs, in the section of limits of operations, we have a quick discussion of what would you like to see in sort of barricading, and that sort of gets his mind thinking of what sort of barricade plan would he approve when he sees it, because that's a different problem for us, that sometimes we get to construction, and the contractor comes in and goes, oh, I'm going to put in for a road closure. And our barricade inspector goes, no, you're not. And the contractor goes, well, the specs don't say I can't, so you owe me more money. But going back to the main thing is that one added step of coordination of before you actually release the documents for bid, we had that final check-in with our traffic department and permitting of, hey, where are we at? Has anything changed since we last talked?
So do we do that when the plans are in review? Is that when that should be done?
Yes, we do. Because for us, when the plans are in review, the barricade inspector isn't part of that process. So we have to seek him out separately and have a conversation with him.
So I guess I'm wondering, is that something that the city should do internally when they receive a developer set of plans? Go to their traffic control and say, hey, are they going to be able to build this?
Well, this is where I'm going to chime in. Thank you, Scott. That's pretty close mirror of what happens at the city. This particular one at the city, I was just kind of taking my time and hearing out some comments before I chimed in. Your last question, Adriana, was should that be something the city is doing? We're not as a rule, and that's why we do the same thing with our capital improvement project that Scott's talking about, and it's usually right before bid. We check with our traffic control, or we're supposed to, and we pay the price sometimes ourselves for our own projects when we don't, for upcoming traffic issues in the region. The city is maybe even a little more separate, I'm not sure, than the city of Las Vegas is supposed to be. Henderson, our permits are coming out of land development, which is actually part of building and safety, and our traffic barricade folks are in public works, but they're in a different division than the city engineer. They're under traffic management. So we coordinate with those departments department and section division during design, but it's really when we come to bid when we'll sit down with Jason Jackson or whoever is going to be assigned. This is unusual. We did really have a lot of meetings with NDOT and convinced them that we could put the storm drain in with a lot of restrictions on Washington because Vegas and some of the other streets would be the detours. I will take this back to Jason and our land development folks, but if there are any changes, then it won't be tomorrow. So I think the takeaway is, and it's very similar to what I'm hearing from Henderson, is that you really need to check with what's going on with major detours and projects like Neon. It's hard to Monday morning quarterback as you were approaching this. If you would have even brought up this as one of several jobs in this meeting, would I have noticed? I might have, but your best bet is to try and force a meeting with traffic. And my big thing that I can try to do right away is make sure the guys above the traffic control barricading section in the transportation management group know that they have to make the time for these meetings now start happening, especially in this type of area with Neon. Don't make sure those meetings happen.
Well, and you start to think, okay, what other projects is this gonna impact? Is it just around Neon? Is it around other major developments? Are developers being asked to do the same thing, or? So it's trying to find out how to plan, what the parameters are.
I think you brought up a great question there, Adriana, towards the end, and earlier on you asked, is it your responsibility to coordinate this, or is it the local government's responsibility to coordinate back with you? And I think that sort of goes into the models that local government on the development side operate under. And that is, once you get to the permitting process, we are set up with industry of, who is first in gets the first answer. I mean, you don't, in our development services center, they have a required 3-week turnaround. And whatever comes in the door, in terms of plan review, has to have an answer from all departments and be sent back out for 3 weeks. So if you don't do something that came in today, because you're working on things that came in 3 weeks ago and they're due, and we take that very seriously. There's reports that are run weekly of what is due this week, and let's put all resources on them to make sure it goes out. And so in your particular situation, you're saying, would the barricade inspector call me or the permit specialist call me because we talked 6 months ago?
Or don't issue the permit.
From the development standpoint, though, and I think a lot of people run into the same boat, we do not know other people's schedules. We don't know whether funding's in, funding's out, something else happened, project got delayed, something's more important, got bumped in front of it. The only thing we know is somebody snips in the door, here's my piece of paper, you have 3 weeks to give me an answer. And that's what we respond to. So you're in that unique situation that as your project's moving forward, you might have coordinated early on, so those folks know about it, but they have no idea if your schedule's changed until you come back and ask them for a permit. And then they have to react to what their current permit load is and other people in the roadway. So that's just only my advice is that constant coordination and that final check before you go out to bid of has anything else occurred since last time we talked.
And just to add on to that, in the cone management meetings, I know that this topic was brought up in February. So those that are on the ground, in construction, issuing barricade plans, were here in meetings, aware of that. So we do go a step beyond. So I just wanted to bring that up in case there's other projects out there that if there's major construction, just like Project Neon, just be aware that this happens. And we weren't expecting it.
And Adriana and Mark, the conditions that are out there now, this particular location, the pipe is failing now. So one of the discussions
On Vegas Drive.
we had with Biddle was,
Done.
we know that there's no approval on barricade plans, but there's a possibility that their crews are going to be out there multiple times to do these necessary repairs until they can actually get out there and replace the whole thing. So, if you think about impacts, and yeah, they're not able to do it, but if it breaks, and they're going to be out there doing it again. So is there an opportunity, if you look at the condition of the pipe now, is there an opportunity where they can minimize, the lane closures? We already know on Washington there's 24-hour closures. The boxes in the center, people are using different roads. There's gas work happening at night, at the intersection of Rancho, Washington. So you got all these contractors doing the best they can within this small corridor. And they had already replaced, I think, 1,000 foot of pipe that's kind of connecting to this now. Now they get on the Vegas Drive main line and they're going to be dealing with Rancho. How about, talk about the night work at the intersection of Vegas Drive and Rancho. And unfortunately, I know that Southwest Gas is really pushing to finish this up on Washington to get it done September, October. I just know they're working 7 days a week out there. But maybe have those discussions and give them an opportunity to get out there at night to fix that portion of it. Otherwise, there's going to be emergencies, there's going to be breaks, and they're going to shut the whole road down because now you got washout, you got interruptions to residents. So it's not something that's just on the schedule that, oh yeah, we'll get to it when we can. This is something that needs to be done now, and that's, I think, the tough thing on the water district is they're at your guys' mercy for this permit. When it breaks today, tomorrow, they're going to be back out there putting a Band-Aid on it.
Without a permit under emergency repair.
Yeah.
So, I don't want to spend too much time on this issue, but it's probably illustrative of other issues and hopefully benefit for everyone in the committee. So let me get into the weeds a little bit more. Has the issue of it being an emergency already, a failing pipe with the potential of emergency repairs and already emergency repairs on that same line in close by areas, has that been specifically brought up to the barricade people at the City of Las Vegas? Or is this something I need to personally take back and kind of champion? Because I knew nothing about this. The barricades don't come back.
It's probably worth having those conversations and sit
Okay.
down with the water district and really
Can
show
you-
them.
Can you,
Someone wants them to call you?
yeah, have them call me, but the idea is to get a meeting. I think it'll be Jason. As soon as possible. And I wouldn't normally, in city engineer, I wouldn't normally have a dog in this fight. They're just a completely separate division, but because of Washington Storm Drain, I'll probably go to that meeting. Yeah, if it's, I didn't, how big is the place?
The project was 4,400 feet.
Of how, that's good too, but what's the diameter?
Let me check. I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay, so, but the fact that this was brought up in code management meeting with our barricade people, I wasn't speaking that earlier, that is another level of, you would think, this might have been avoidable. I know on Washington Storm Drain, it was very difficult to get our barricade inspectors. We worked with NDOT a lot to approve that night work on Washington, and they're not shy about, they approved it with restrictions when 95 was being shut down, but there was some other work going on, and they shut down Southwest Gas another couple of nights without going back to Public Works, and we appreciate Southwest Gas work with us. They know they're trying to get ahead of schedule, and probably would have been more ahead of schedule without those two unexpected closures. But the point relative to you is they're not shy to change their minds. So going back to based on what's happening in local traffic, so going back to the time of bid is really required. So unfortunately, because I understand what you're saying, why you should a permit, it's just going to be an easy rejected on the
I guess if we know ahead of time, then we just won't award the project.
Right.
No. And just after that, we try to contact like the county. I know I've contacted the county and they've shared their Fulbright and pay plans because we do want to get out there. If we have a project where we know that a pipe is failing, we'll go and say, okay, what's going on right now? Is there anything here? Or we have it here, check on these alignments. I go and we check and we try to make sure that we're before any work goes on or try to plan it or in conjunction with work that the county or city does. We're trying to coordinate as best.
If I may, Mr. Chairman?
Please.
Yeah, just a shout out to Don. We had a very frank conversation with him yesterday, Don Biddle. In cone management, he characterized this as exactly what it is, I think, which is a success on one hand, in that this shows that we're talking to one another, we're taking the public's interest at heart, trying not to cut off a giant section of the city, the multiple projects stepping on one another. So that's a good thing. But at the other side of the coin, it's a failure in the sense that we've got at least 4 trains coming together at the same time. And I'm counting Rancho in that. Rancho, has been the project that has kind of been the well that the city has been going to, which is fine. Not criticizing that. It's just that that's been out there too, and that's been pushing a lot of the decisions. Then Neon right in the middle of it. So, I think where we are at now than we were a year ago. We have better tools. We definitely have better conversations with one another. The goal is to identify these trains 2 years out and make it clear that when you're trying to decide the relative benefit of the Washington Storm Drain, the Vegas Valley water line that's falling apart, maybe not Project Neon because that's a once-in-a-lifetime kind of thing, Rancho, and the political machinations that go along with those things, identify that early on so you're not stuck in this point where somebody said you can't have a permit because of other stuff going on in the neighborhood. So I think this is just I want to have conversations offline with everybody involved, and I really kind of, just for lack of a better term, call it a case study, because I think this is a concrete example of what we are trying to improve, and the things that we have improved on to date, but obviously this shows there's a lot of work left to do. And this pretty much hits every single thing we're trying to do as a community.
I think it's a good thing that we bring it up though in this.
Absolutely. I thank you.
Just
If you hadn't, I would have.
Just so that everybody knows what's happening and how can we work to avoid it, or what can we do? What are the steps that we need to do now? Because maybe what we planned 2 years ago just isn't working right now because of all the construction that's out there. So.
Right.
So I not, I do not mind the dirty laundry coming out when it needs to. I think this is an excellent case study, and we ought to delve further into it. This meeting's on management and separate sidebars, and use it as a case study, just like you said. I'm not shy about looking at things I could have done different on Washington storm drain, or different things our barricade folks could have done on this job, especially if it was brought up specifically in an timely, in a very recent manner at home meeting.
I can vouch for that. So anyway, thank you, everybody. A good example of what we're trying to accomplish.
Okay, we're still on that same item, general item, as the first specific one. Does anyone have anything else on projects in the 1 to 2 year planning way?
Nothing from RTC.
Okay. The next.
Oh, I'm sorry, one thing. This isn't the project, is it? Is this wrong? We need to change this. This is not under construction.
No, we need to, I was just talking with Todd, we need to put it on hold.
Okay. All right, we will move this to hold status.
The right project, but not the right status.
Check.
Okay.
We'll fix that. Bring it down into that category. Some pop up. So, anyway, thank you.
Next item is similar. Discuss projects under design and/or agency and/or on agency boundaries.
Again, Mr. Chairman, that's not to be a broken record, but this is a standing item. Until we're told otherwise, we're going to continue to have Chris kind of go through and highlight those projects that he looks might be problematic just from a multiple jurisdictions perspective. So we have nothing other than what's in your backup.
All right. I'll just make a couple of notes. The one that item 5 and 6 is planning, design. I think anyone's welcome to bring up in either of those items a project under construction or wanting to be under construction. So I kind of consider those as kind of open, always open to
And that was the intent.
construction issue.
That was absolutely the intent, Mr. Chair.
And I'd like to just also say, kind of a follow-up to the presentation that the city did. We're about to, I believe Randy McConnell and my team set up a meeting. We're about to meet with the RTC IT people. Again, probably the final little bugs are what bugs we're having on the RTC. I don't think they're really bugs. They're just some clarifications on the RTC regional project coordination map. If there's anything that comes out of that meeting that's interesting for the other jurisdictions, I'm sure we'll bring it up at a future meeting.
Okay.
Some of it just naming convention project IDs, overlay projects,
Right.
kind of stuff I mentioned before in that presentation. So we'll, like I said, we'll update this committee if we come up with anything interesting regarding those last little bugs. We're continuing, the city's continuing to do our batch uploads. We've had some success in that. Just so everybody knows, we're continuing to add new projects, Fry2, as well as some of the projects that just never got uploaded by the city when we had a hiatus in our ability to batch upload. And I did have a question. One thing besides before I ask the question, besides the new projects and the missing projects, we're looking at anything that, now that this list is fully, the map is fully public, we're looking at maybe some further out planning projects, ones where alignments might change, one that might have a lot of right-of-way, and deciding whether to put them on the list at all at this moment. And I had a question related to that. Has RTC published the whole Fry 2 10-year list?
Yes,
So that's all on the website?
yes.
It's all on the RTC website, okay. Well, I would say that even though the city only presented a few months ago, I'm sure within the next few months, we'll want to present similar to Henderson, especially with our new Fry 2 project.
Very good.
On that higher bar that was set by Mr. Jarvis.
You will not be turned away.
Okay. And that's all I had to add on item 6. So item 7, moving on, if there's nothing else. Moving on to item 7, receive a report from the Cone Management Working Group.
Yeah, just very briefly, just to give everyone an update on our signal notification process form. We've been talking to industry, we've been talking to the member agencies, we've been, I won't say slowly, I prefer methodically, working out the bugs. So that's good. We've made some changes to the forms that were requested by industry and NDOT. On our freeway, on our arterial system of transportation site, down here you'll see notification of road work near traffic signals. We've improved how the system recognizes and sends out the emails to the appropriate parties. It doesn't look like it's been updated yet, but one thing that we've done is we've split NDOT out of here at their request. So we have the participating permitting agencies. You see them here, and then not to bore you with the details, but NDOT felt that this was confusing because in some cases they require permits, some cases they don't. So they pulled us. They want to pull this out of here and create a separate section that just simply says, is work being done on a state route, or words to that effect. And if it is, then NDOT will be blasted. If they check no, then they won't get the email. This was intended as a courtesy copy, really, to NDOT. Obviously, we all know that NDOT does not maintain the traffic signals, hence some of the confusion. People have been checking this box only in instances, and then the email doesn't get to the people that own and maintain the signals.
You know, JP, that
Yeah.
is a good point.
Mhm.
So you know, that happened to us Friday,
Mm-hmm.
last Friday. We had a contractor fire up a signal on Losey. They notified this site, we didn't get it. We got it, but it notified us on Friday. So it messed up everything that we had in place, so.
Yeah,
I don't know, I'm not sure this is the best place to have them notify us when they're gonna fire up signals. We need to know that ourselves.
Yeah.
Our in-house people are out there, so when we unbag them, the timing's right, they work right. We can't have them notify you guys.
agreed
and
completely.
have us
And
get
this
email.
was not ever
Right.
meant to
Yeah.
serve that purpose.
I know, I think it's confusing to the world though, the contractor world, because we got notified twice that they notified it.
The one benefit, yeah, agreed completely. This was not meant to supersede a turn-on procedure that the agencies have. But the email does go to FAST. So at last resort, it goes to everybody at FAST. So some alarm bell ought to go off when the techs read it and say, oh my God, they're trying to turn on a signal in North Las Vegas. And FAST gets on the blower and calls the people that they know.
Yeah,
So,
our traffic engineers on annual leave, and they
Yeah.
put this in there,
Yeah.
and it's gonna work for us. I can just tell you,
mhm.
I've already had some criticism from several people that don't want to see this part on this module.
Well, they're still
Right.
gonna have notification as well. It says in there that, you get 72 hours of notification. If you don't hear, then you make a phone call. So even though they submitted through this for a fire up, that it doesn't necessarily, they didn't get the correct response anyway, and that's when instead of firing up, should have been a phone call.
This is
Back
for
to the-
permitting. What you're talking about is a
So-
turnout, which is an inspection, and that goes through your normal inspection process.
Yeah, it's easy to say that, but you got contractor Eddie and the traffic guys out there working. They feel they've made their proper notifications.
Right, and this is a brand-new thing. There's training involved, but this went to enough people on our side, on the RTC side, that should have recognized this as a mistake, as a turn-on, not a notification of a work zone, as an error on the contractor's part, and called you. So, mea culpa, that's on us.
Yeah, I think-
We've got to be situationally aware of what's going on and not just, okay, great. So that's on us. But, I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater quite yet on this deal, because the feedback generally has been positive. The criticism that we're getting from industry is that sometimes they don't hear back fast enough. That's why we've added Chris's phone to the list. The email that goes back says, if you don't hear from anybody, call Chris, because he knows the connection, rather than the agency, because the agency wasn't getting that. If they're not going to call the first time, they're not going to call the second time. So, again...
Well, I'm just giving you the heads up that...
I appreciate that.
You may hear more about it from a level above me, but it didn't go over well with our guys. And it doesn't go over well to fire stuff up without anybody knowing.
Yeah, exactly.
And they feel they made their proper notification. You look at that website, and you pop in there, and you're like, hey, I'm good.
Well, you could put in big red letters, not for signal turn on.
Something, yeah.
Again, work in progress, we could certainly do that.
Yeah.
And that was to conclude my report, Mr. Chairman. The next step is basically to get everybody back together in a room like we did when this fired off and vet those things out. What's working, what's not, what can we be improved upon. So anyway, that's it. Work in progress. We're making strides. Obviously, more work to do. And we will add in big red letters, not for signal turn on. We'll do that right away.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think it just confuses the industry. I can see how they would be confused, honestly. They feel they've made their notification at that point. They notified the RTC, better to notify.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I hear you. That concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Number 8, agenda number 8, discuss topics of interest. Are there any other topics of interest within the committee?
Naturally.
Okay.
Very simple. I believe Tamika sent out our proposed schedule for the presentation. We're cranking down that list. Obviously, what I'd like to do next time is bring that forward as an agenda item for a formal approval, just so everybody knows when they're up. I'm thinking that the 2, because there are so many members now, I think we're locked into doing 2 each meeting, even though that's going to leave us here probably making an hour-and-a-half meeting. But, if it takes an hour-and-a-half to talk about what we need to talk about, I think that's what we need to do. So look forward to that on the next agenda. If you can't find it in your email, we'll resend it. We've made some accommodations we've moved some things around. One thing we noticed is in the version that went out, I believe, the PC was probably not on the list, Percy, so we're going to make that change. There's an outfit that's officially on the books called CW Telecom. They're an official member. Does any of you folks that have been here a while know what CW Telecom even is or was? So maybe that's something that we can clean up, get them off the list. Are there any? Huh? Time Warner, that's a good guess. Yeah, it might have been exactly what they were. But they're not coming. Don't know who they are. Are there any other telecoms, or is there anybody fundamentally missing that could take that company's place? Don't have to answer it now. You can send me an email if you can think of anybody. So if it pleases the committee, I would move through the process of getting them off the list.
And Mr. Facilitator, if I may add to that, had a representative from Kinder Morgan. He is a sole representative. He is apparently, with his schedule due to travel, unable to attend. I don't
Got
know.
somebody back there waving their arms.
Okay. Oh, okay.
My understanding is CW Telecom is not.
Ah, well, thank you very much.
And then can you state your name for the record, please?
Thank you very much. That will help.
And then, Mr. Facilitator, I don't know if there's been any decision made on Kinder Morgan, so they are on the membership list. And
Well, they have
there is a
come
there is a representative.
on occasion. So are they asking to be relieved of duty?
At one time, there had been a request, but I can follow up on that. on
Okay.
just to see.
We do have a model for that. So, yeah, if they want out and they don't see it as valuable, we'll let them out. So that's all I had
Okay.
under topics of interest.
Thank you for the update from the fund management group.
You guys aren't going anywhere. You don't get a
Look at
choice.
you, Sean.
Our final item is another comment period for citizens' participation. I was reading the fine print. There is a difference, which I should have remembered from our previous chair. There is a difference between the first comment period and the final comment period. I think I was reading that just while Adriana was yelling at me about that. And I just didn't want to make eye contact with her. Brian.
Adriana does not yell.
The first comment period is actually, is supposed to be related to things on the agenda, and the second, this comment period, is more of a general one for things that would fall into our purview. Once again, no action to be taken on any matter discussed under this item, although the committee can direct it to be placed on a future agenda. And that, is there any comment? Hearing none, I will close this very productive, interesting, but donut-free.
Thanks, everyone.